Internet. It's the Pennsylvania Hitman coming to you from the PaHitman studios in Erie, Pennsylvania. And I'm here to tell you about how I beat up 2 black girls outside a laundromat. Alright, so someone sent me a message on Facebook and asked me to tell this story. So this is a request. I've been meaning to tell this story. I had quite a few people talking me into trying to tell it on my channel. So here it goes. So you gotta hear the backstory to this. So this was 17 years ago. This happened August 13th, 2003. I still have the police report. Okay, I still have the police report. I saved it because this story is so crazy that I saved the police report because in case someone didn't believe me, I would have this to show them. This story is that unbelievable. So I got this job. I just got this job at Champ Sports. I'm the assistant manager in the Mill Creek Mall. Been working there maybe 2-3 months, something like that. And I gotta open the next morning, and I'm doing my laundry and for the night before, and my dryer broke. So I got all these wet clothes, my work clothes. I gotta get them done. So it's right around midnight because the police report was taken at 12:20 a.m. on August 13th. So I get all my clothes, I throw them in the laundry basket, and I'm like, okay, where's their 24-hour laundromat? So me and this girl I was with at the time, I'm like, hey, I got to go to this laundromat on 26th and Zook in Erie and do my laundry. You want to come with me? Yeah, sure, no problem. So we pull in literally an empty parking lot. So I'm thinking, great, and who's doing laundry at that time of night in the evening? So I walk in, and literally all the dryers are full. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me! I just gotta dry my clothes. There was 3 dryers, maybe 2. There was 2 dryers that had clothes in them, but they weren't spinning. And I looked, I opened them up, and the clothes were all warm. None of them were still wet. So I'm like, all right, well, I don't want to fuck with anybody's clothes, so I'll wait like 10-15 minutes. I'll see if they come back. I still got to get to bed, so I'm not trying to stay up any later than I have to. So maybe 10 minutes goes by, and no one's coming back. There was a couple out of order dryers along this row of dryers, so I took the clothes that were completely dry and put them in the out of order dryer. Okay, didn't steal no one's stuff. There were some women's stuff. I could tell by just, when I put them in there, they were women's clothes. Put them in the out of order dryer, these 2 out of order dryers, and I put my clothes in the dryer. It was actually 1 dryer, so I think I just emptied 1 because I only needed 1 for 1 load. So instead of sitting there like, oh, let's just go for a drive, we'll go cruise around or whatever. So we went cruise around a little bit. I figured it's time for our clothes to get done. So I pull back in the laundromat, and I see these 2 girls sitting in the corner of the laundromat. And I'm like, oh boy, this will be good. I said, oh, you want to come in and get my clothes with me? And she was like, oh, hell no, I'm not going in there. I could tell they didn't look too happy because when I pulled up, I'm sure they knew that I was the person that probably moved their stuff. So I go in there, and it's these 2 black girls are sitting in the corner. Looks like they were eating. Looks like they must have went and got some Chinese food. I don't know where they got Chinese food at that time, but that looked like what they were eating. It smelled like Chinese food. So I walk in there, I open the dryer, and I'm just getting my stuff, and I hear them start yelling at me. They're saying stuff like, "Hey, you white motherfucker! You put your fucking nappy hands on my clothes! Blah blah blah! Motherfucker this, motherfucker that! White motherfucker this, white motherfucker that!" They're MFing me. So I'm just ignoring it. I was trying to get my clothes and get the hell out of there. And finally, they just kept running their mouth. And finally, I stopped and said, hey, look, your clothes were dry. Okay, it's a public laundromat. You're not the only one that needs to use the dryers. I put them in the out of order dryer. They weren't wet. Nothing's missing. it is what it is. If you should have been here to get your stuff, but I had to use it. That's that. And I just went to unload my laundry out of the dryer. So both of them come walking over, talking shit. And you gotta understand, okay? When I tell you these two chicks were girls, you gotta visualize this, okay? So they come up to me, and I turn around to face them, and this one, I'm literally looking up at her like this. She had to be like 6'6". I'm looking up at her like this. The other one was short. She was probably 5'4", 5'5". So the one girl that's like 6'6", 6'4" for sure. For sure, she's at least 6'4", maybe 6'6". She's like the size of Dan Severn, okay? And if you don't know who Dan Severn is, he's a heavyweight freestyle UFC champion, okay? Dan Severn was like 280, 300 pounds, okay? She was like that dude size. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if this chick was at least 280 to 320 pounds. The shorter one, she was pretty chunky. She was like 5'4", 5'5". For sure, I'd bet she was like $180 at least, maybe 200 pounds. Okay, and at that time, I'm 5'7". I'm probably 150 pounds soaking wet. It was 2003. I had my first MMA fight in 1999 or 2000. So I was 3 or 4 years into my MMA career, probably a blue belt in Jiu-Jitsu at that time. Walk around 150 pounds soaking wet, okay? Because I was fighting at 135 pounds. So these girls are huge. So, I'm talking shit, we're arguing, and I turned. The dryer door was open. I turned. I'm just going to ignore them. I'm going to get my clothes and leave. And that big chick, as soon as I turned my head, she went like this and palmed my head and slammed my head into the dryer door. That fucking hurt. So that pissed me off. So I turned around and I said, look here, you motherfucking bitch. Don't you fuck with me. You touch me one more motherfucking time, I will fuck you up. I will this, I will that. I'm like, you fucking come within arm's reach of me and I will fuck you up. So I'm letting this bitch know, like, look, bitch, I ain't the motherfucking dude, okay? I believe in equal rights and equal lefts, and I will fucking drop your big fat ass, okay? I will fuck you up. So, I'm fucking, she must have knew it in my fucking eyes, man, because I was so fucking angry when she hit me like that. And she backed up, but she's still running her fucking mouth, and, I'm running back. So then she starts walking outside, so I'm thinking she's just getting away from me and I can go about my business. So I'm watching her. She goes up to my car, and the girl I'm with at the time is in the passenger seat. She starts punching my window on my car. I'm like, oh, hell no. Oh, hell no. I don't remember where the short, chubby one went, but the big one was the one punching my window. So I went outside. I said, get the fuck away from my car. And she said, oh, you want some more? And at that time, I'm like, all right, come on, bitch. Come on. So I'm bouncing up and down. I said, come on, motherfucker. And she took a swing at me, and I ducked it, and I just dropped like a 5-punch combo in this girl's fucking face, dude. I was hitting her as hard as I possibly could. I hit her with probably a 6 punch straight combination. She dropped to her knees. I grabbed her by her hair, and I'm kneeing her in the head. And that's the thing, is that her on her knees, I remember grabbing her hair. And it was right here, that's how big she was. I mean, if I'm on my hands and knees, my head's down here. So, it's right there. And I'm kneeing her in the head. And then that short girl jumped on my back. So the short, chubby one that's 180 jumped on my back. I turned and I leaned over. I pulled her over top of me, and I machine gun punched her in the face. And I hit her probably 5 or 6 times. And then I turned because I'm worried about this big one, because, man, I was hitting her as hard as I could, and it didn't seem to faze her. And she's standing up, and she's got her dukes up, and we're kind of just circling each other. Then this car pulls up, man. It was like, just a group of, I thought it was the police. This car pulled up and came to a screeching halt. I thought for sure it was the cops. And I looked, and it's just a bunch of like white kids like that were fucking laughing and that just wanted to see this fight. So the big girl turns to look at who's in the car, and I jumped off to the side, and I drilled her right in the jaw. She did a spin. She spun around. She did a 360, and bloom hit the cement. And then she starts crawling on the ground. I got something for your ass in the trunk. I got something for your ass in the trunk. And I'm like, man, I don't know what this girl has in this trunk, but I gotta get the fuck out of here. I don't know if it's a gun. I don't know if it's a tire iron, a baseball bat. I have no idea. I have no clue, but I gotta get the fuck out of here. So I run in the laundromat. I just grab my clothes and I just throw them. My back window was rolled down because it was nice out. It's August. Throw my clothes in the back seat. Run in for another trip. Boom, and I got in my car and took off. Didn't think nothing of it. And then 3 days later, the Mill Creek police show up to my work at Champs. The next day I went to work. I told my manager the story of what happened, and she was laughing her ass off. Thank God she was super cool about it, because the cops ended up coming up and arresting me 3 days later, and they charged me with one count of simple assault, which is an M2, and they charged me with a summary offense of harassment. The M2 description, it says, the defendant did cause bodily injury to the victim. I'm just going to say these girls' first names. I want to protect their identities. I don't want to say their last names. Defendant did cause bodily injury to the victim, Nakia, in that he did punch the victim in the face, knocking her to the ground, causing her to fracture her jaw. And the harassment one is defendant did harass, annoy, or alarm the victim, Allison, by hitting her in the face with his fist. So that's the reason why I got charged with those two things. So the cops arrested me at work, took me down to the station, did the booking bullshit. I didn't have to post a bond or anything like that. So that shows you the difference between 2003 and now. If I do this now, I'd be trying to bail myself out of jail. So I leave and I'm like, fuck, I don't even really understand how much trouble I'm in. M2 and a summary offense, that probably would get me a short jail sentence. Definitely a few years probation. So I'm just like, man, what am I going to do? Of course, my manager at Champs thinks it's hilarious. So I'm like, man, I bet you these girls, I don't know, man, these girls, crazy girls like that, I was thinking they probably have been in trouble before. They've probably been on probation. So I'm like, I'm just going to take a shot in the dark, and I'm going to call down to the courthouse and ask to speak to their probation officer. So I call and I called probation. I said, hey, can I speak to Nakia? And I said their last name, or Allison, and I said her last name's probation officer. And they said, yeah, hold on. I'm like, oh, nice. I'm like, on probation. So I'm hoping that I can tell the probation officer the story. And I don't know what he could do for me, but I'm hoping that somehow this can help me out. So I'm not going to say the probation officer's name because I'm not too sure if he was allowed to do this or not. So I'm going to protect his identity as well. But I got the probation officer on the phone, and he was a black dude too, so I'm like, fuck, you know what I mean? I'm hoping, me being white, hope he's not going to stick up for them or help them out or something like that. I'm like, oh, this could be bad. So I told him, like, my story of what happened, okay? And he said, okay. He said, well, don't worry. He said, I plead not guilty, and I'll make sure that they don't show up at court. I said, really? He's like, yeah. He's like, Nakia, I think it was Nakia. Yeah, Nakia, she was the bigger girl. She was on probation, wasn't supposed to be out that late at night, and he told me that she was on probation because she knifed someone from ear to cheek. So she cut someone up. I don't know if it was a dude or a girl she cut up, but she's always getting into trouble, and she wasn't supposed to be out that late at night. So he told me to plead not guilty, and she wouldn't show up. So went to court, I'm sitting there and I'm just waiting for them to walk in, and they never showed up, and I was found not guilty. It's actually pretty funny because when the cops came up to my work and arrested me, they read me what she said. Okay, I'm going to read you what the affidavit of probable cause said. On 8/13/2003 at 00:23 hours, this affiant was dispatched to the laundromat at 2605 Evanston Ave for a report of an assault. Upon arrival, your affiant spoke to both victims, Nakia and Allison, who stated the following information. On this date, both victims were doing some laundry at this location. They put their wet clothes in the dryer, then left to go grocery shopping. When they returned moments later, they walked in to find their clothes put into a dryer, which was out of order, at which point the defendant walked in to remove his clothes from the dryer where the victim's clothes were prior. So far, they told the truth. I kind of feel like they didn't leave for a moment to go grocery shopping. I feel like that took longer than they said, but so far we're telling the truth. A verbal argument ensued according to the victim, and racial slurs were said by the defendant. So these girls said that I was calling them racial slurs when it was actually the exact opposite. They were calling me racial slurs. The defendant followed her outside, harassing her all the way to her car. Barnes then stated the defendant then struck her in the face from behind, knocking her to the ground. So here's where the story, they're telling a huge story now because she went outside to my car. Okay, she didn't go outside to her car. The defendant then continued to hit her while she was on the ground. Allison was inside the laundromat and saw the defendant hitting Nakia. Allison ran outside and pulled the defendant off of Nakia, at which point the defendant turned and punched Allison also in the face. Allison then stated she was calling the police, and the defendant left in a vehicle eastbound on Route 20. Nakia had a cut to her upper lip at the time your affiant was talking to the victims and had stopped bleeding. I advised the victims I would attempt to gain info on your affiant, on the defendant from the registration, from the vehicle he was driving. Approximately 3 days later, your affiant called the victim, Nakia, who stated she had to go to the emergency room the next morning because her jaw was in pain after being x-rayed. Allison was found to have a hairline fracture to her jaw, or Nakia was found to have a hairline fracture to her jaw and had to get liquid stitches put on the cut to her lip. Based on the above statement, which is true and correct to the best of my knowledge, your affiant requests a warrant of arrest to be issued for the defendant. So that's where I had an arrest warrant issued for me, and they found me at my work. The patrolman was S.A. Leone, or Leone. I don't know if it's Leone or Leone. He was the cop that filed the charges, and luckily the probation officer kept him out of court, and I got away with this one. So that's my story of the day I beat up two black girls outside a laundromat.